when Disney seemed to be full of disgruntled workers? It seemed like nearly every Disney cartoon feature film had something dirty placed in it somewhere. Probably the most famous of all was the cover of The Little Mermaid. You're probably all wondering why I own this, because see, there's a cartoon penis on the cover. Yeah. Man, this movie made a simple task like using the restroom a total challenge in my household growing up, and it was all due to one scene. There was one part of the movie where Ursula, who's essentially the main villain in the movie, tricks Ariel into giving her voice to her. She does this by basically singing a little 20-second hum. For whatever reason, this 20 seconds of singing was something my little sister enjoyed and would often do when she was taking a bath. The only problem was we only had one bathroom. Oh, come on, dude! You've been in here over an hour! I have to take a friggin' Duke! I'm prairie dogging it, man! Come on! Never mind. Yeah, fond memories. It really shouldn't be any big surprise that when you have a movie this big that you make a video game to capitalize on its success. However, this was made in 1989 and this was made in 1992. Well, regardless, we're going to go ahead and pass our man card forward and we're going to take a look at Ariel The Little Mermaid for the Sega Genesis. Right off the bat, I must say, for the 16-bit era, this is a pretty good rendition of the Little Mermaid theme song. In terms of the game, you actually get to choose between Ariel or her father Triton. Regardless of who you pick, the story is still the same. Whoever you don't pick is the one you have to go save from Ursula, which means there's nothing involving a mermaid being attracted to a human being like it was in the movie. And I'm glad. I mean, looking at it from a practical standpoint, it's basically a fish being attracted to a human. And don't even try to claim it's a romantic story. Let's not pretend if you walked in on a coworker dry humping an oversized trout that you'd be like, "Aw, Carl's in love." And don't even forget just how physically incompatible a human being and a mermaid would be. So to put it nicely, this is a mermaid, this is a human being. Doesn't sound so good anymore, does it? Could you consider The Little Mermaid to be an advertising vehicle for bestiality? Well, wait, it was a mermaid suffering from an attraction to a human being. What do you call that? Humanality? Anyway, back to the game. First thing you'll probably notice is just how stiff the controls are. It feels like you're constantly fighting against some invisible force. Most of the time it seems nearly impossible just to sit still. I would say this might be because of the current of the water, but there's nothing in the way of evidence suggesting there's any kind of current at all. I still haven't been able to decide if this is due to bad controls or if... No, it's definitely due to bad controls. What makes this invisible force so much worse is being next to any walls. It's almost as if you become a magnet to anything solid when you're next to it. Look at this! I'm not screwing around! I literally can't seem to maneuver anywhere. I don't want to go that way, goddammit! Get off me! Get off me! Man, it is really difficult to explain until you've experienced it yourself. Imagine how the controls were in Echo the Dolphin, but make them 10 times stiffer and add a 100-pound weight that's constantly dragging you down. I'm not even playing around! My forearm is already tired because I keep squeezing the D-pad thinking I'm somehow going to magically get a greater response out of the game by muscling it to death. You do get 2 attacks, but they feel useless in most situations, and I can't tell if that's because of the lousy hit detection, or if they're just really weak abilities and enemies take a lot of hits to be defeated. Who knows? It's probably both. The first one is basically a fireball, which works fine for a few enemies. The second is this laser sort of thing, but you have a limited amount of these. During the entire game, I never hit anything with this laser attack, so a lot of good that was. If you use Ariel, her attacks are basically musical notes that fly out of her mouth, which is the equivalent of just yelling at your enemies to death. While swimming around, I started to notice these little worm-like things and realized those are what Ursula would turn the mermaids into in the movie. By simply touching one, you basically reverse the spell and save their life, which is why you have them listed on this huge bar of crap. Once you've collected them all for the stage, you win and get to move on to fight the boss for that level. By hitting start, it'll bring up this map screen which shows you where all these worm-like things are, which I have to admit makes me feel like I'm cheating by simply just laying it all out for me. I can't get past this rock! For whatever reason, I can't swim over it either. Well, why not? Look at this huge ass gap! Wait, what? Okay, so by messing with the controls, they discovered that the C button makes it so your friends, as the instructions call it, can come and move the rock out of the way. Alright, so Flounder has no problem pushing the rock out of the way, but big, giant, muscular Triton can't even push it an inch? What kind of sense does that make? On top of that, I would have been more inclined to find another solution rather than spaz out on my controller if there wasn't such a huge gap making me think I can just swim over it. If it's really intended for the player not to swim over the top, make the rock bigger, you lazy ass face! You can get other friends like Sebastian who basically just beats up everything around you, which is helpful. And then there's this swordfish guy, which I don't even remember from the movie, and he doesn't seem to do anything. He just seems to follow me around. I don't get it. You can also find keys which open up treasure chests. You can use what you find in these chests to purchase things from the game's version of a store. Your enemies for the most part are what you'd expect, but without a doubt the two most annoying enemies are the sharks, which follow you all over the place, and the skeletons you find on the sunken ship stage. When you kill these things, their parts can still hurt you, and you find yourself just trying to flee from them rather than stick around and fight. Because you have enemies like this, you find yourself just swimming through everything and only going after the worm things just so you can hurry up and fight the stage boss. And that doesn't make a good game. You play games because you enjoy them, not because you want to hurry past everything just so you can quickly pull the game back out of the system again. To even further cement the idea that you're being hurried through the game is how you die, or rather how you don't die, several times I noticed my health getting very low, and right about the time I figured I was going to die, this happened. I didn't figure out what was going on until I was just about finished with the game. Rather than seeing a death or game over screen, the game would just replenish all of my health, and then one of those star things would subtract by 1, which I later realized was supposed to be the amount of lives I have. So to save on time, the programmers just made it so you never had to start over from the beginning, never have to reload anything, and never have to feel the consequences of doing poorly at the game. What the hell were they thinking? So let's review here. Who was the game intended for? Girls, right? Even though a lot of us guys probably saw The Little Mermaid, its main audience was girls. Girls who wanted to see a cute little romance story where the classic cliche of the outcast gets the unobtainable love of her life. Did the programmers really think that a woman's mind was so shallow and so riddled with clueless thoughts that they couldn't handle much intellectual width and carried an attention span of a common housefly?
Ew, I'm gonna make some scrambled eggs! Ooh, a bunny!
You know what? There's really no point in me even going on. The game is only 4 stages long. 4 stages! The bosses literally just sit there and let you blow them away. Not one boss required me to dodge anything. I never saw a game over screen. I never experienced even a single moment where I was challenged. And just like Total Recall for the NES, I finished the game in just under 30 minutes, and it was my first time playing. But you know what? At least Total Recall caused me to worry about how much health I had left. At least Total Recall had an end screen that was somewhat of an event. You know what you get in The Little Mermaid after you defeated Ursula? You get a rainbow. A rainbow! The only poor unfortunate souls are the ones that had to play this game. I admit in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch. But you'll find that nowadays I've mended all my ways, repented, seen the light, who made the switch to this. And I fortunately know a little magic. It's a talent that I've always have possessed. And dear lady, please don't laugh. I use it on behalf of the miserable, the lonely, and depressed. Pathetic. Poor unfortunate souls, in pain, in need. This one longing to be thinner, this one wants to get the girl, and do I help them? Yes, indeed. Those poor unfortunate souls, so sad, so true. They come flocking to my cauldron, crying, "Spells, Ursula, please!" And do I help them? Yes, I do. Now it's happened once or twice. Someone couldn't pay the price, and I'm afraid I'd have to rake them across the coals. Yes, I've had the odd complaint, but on the soul I've been a saint to those poor unfortunate souls!
my ass kicked by an egg, really.